Welcome everyone to the May 2022 Adaptive Cards Community Call. Today we have a special guest, Josh Friedman. He's going to walk us through handling multi-user responses for adaptive cards in Teams. We're going to briefly talk about Build 2022, which is coming up soon, a short call to action, and then we'll end it up with our usual Q&A session. We'll try to leave more time than usual since I know there's a lot of people excited for this feature and we're probably going to get a lot of questions related to it. For those that did not attend or were not able to attend last month's call, the handling multi-user responses for adaptive cards, it came from this image that was shared. I didn't have much context from it, but people were really interested in how to post adaptive cards to separately listen for responses in a chat or channel. I managed to find the creator, Josh, who is on this call, and will walk us through this experience. So without further ado, Josh, if you want to go ahead and take control of the presentation, introduce yourself, and walk us through your solution.
Sure, yeah. First, just a bit of background. I am on the Teams team at Microsoft, but I work on the Teams connector in Power Automate, and I'm the main owner for all the triggers and actions that are used for it. So what I'm going to be showing is posting a card using Power Automate and then allowing it to be able to handle multiple responses for it. I'm doing a little more complicated demo than I've done for my team, and I haven't tried it out, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. But basically, you'll need to create two flows for this. The first flow I recommend setting up is the one that will handle responses. So in this case, I'm just going to do one for creating a planner task. What I did for this is I just took the create a planner task from a message template in the workflow store. Also, I'm going to assume there's like some basic understanding of Power Automate from everyone on the call, but if you want, I can go over like briefly what that is if that's needed.
I think you can move forward with your demo, and if anyone has questions towards the end of the presentation, we'll save them for the Q&A section.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So yeah, like I said, just use this template right here. So literally that's all I've done so far is just create this template. And then what I'm going to do instead is I have this card that it created for it. I'm just gonna copy that JSON, and then I'm gonna use a different trigger, which we'll see here is, I believe it's like when someone responds to an adaptive card. Yep, right here. And then I'm going to put that JSON right here for it. And then we're going to give this a card type ID. Let's just call this community call for it. And then hopefully, actually, I think everything might have gotten messed up with the dynamic tokens from this. So one thing I forgot with doing this is that it's going to delete all the tokens from it. So I need to look at like what that template was actually using for them and then copy them back in. So yeah, basically how this works is every time someone responds to the card that we'll post, this trigger will fire. And we need the card here because we need to have the tokens so we know the schema for what the response will look like. So you could see here like this task title, task due date, assignee, stuff like that. Okay. So I think this should be not ever the best idea to try and do this on the fly with it, but we'll see how this goes. So basically, this is just checking if the assignees is empty. And then if it is, it looks like it's going to do some logic for it. Oh, actually, wait, I'm doing the wrong thing for it. Sorry. It should be using this one. So this is the assignees that are coming back from the card itself for it. Can be a little finicky. But if I can't do it with too much with this, it's not one big. Yeah, I'm just gonna do my more simple demo and then try that after for it, just because it's a little more complicated and think about like changing this template on the fly for it. So I'm just gonna do one with like the default card from the task message, and then if you want, we can like go back to that one more. But that was showing like a more closer to like real world scenario for it. But with like templates for it, it'll be much more user friendly. So oops, if we take that trigger again, that when someone responds trigger, there we go. All right, and then I use that when someone responds to an adaptive card, and then put the adaptive card JSON here for one. This is like just the default one for like the message action, message extension one that you've probably all seen if you've used Power Automate. And then we give this one an ID. Let's just call it demo. I don't think I saved that other one, so I could have used that same one. And then let's just go ahead and post responses back in the conversation where people are responding. We'll just do this one. Actually, I haven't tried this with guest users, so it'll be interesting, I guess, test scenario for it. Hopefully everything works expected. And then what's the name of this call? Adaptive Cards Community Call.
Adaptive Cards Community Call.
And then we'll just have responding. So if we put this info in here, whenever one of you responds to this card I'm going to post, we should see all this info show up. And again, this info, like these tokens right here, are gotten because we have like the schema for the card for it. We'll just do all this community response handler. So we'll save that one. And then we have the same card. We're going to want to use to post a flow. So I'll just do a manual trigger for this just to show it as an example. A little faster creating at that time. And the way you post a card for multiple responses, so what you saw at one point was we had a separate action for posting multiple responses, and then project manager on the Power Automate team gave me feedback. Like we've probably seen, if you've noticed, like we have like all of these actions. We tried to like consolidate some of them because there's so many, and like doing one for each posting as Flowbot, posting as user would just be like overwhelming. So if you post as Flowbot with this action, then all of these ones, you'll see the regular things that you're used to. So we'll put the same conversation ID here for it, the same adaptive card. And then there's this advanced options now. And that advanced options, after I put this in, so this advanced options has this card type ID. And this card type ID, you want to match whatever you're using for your response handler. So in this case, I have like call demo. So if I put that here, then the backend knows to map this posting of the card to that response handler for it. So we'll just call this posting. So now if I go ahead and run this, this will post this card once and then continue on with whatever it does. And then we will asynchronously listen in this flow and handle responses. And then this original flow that posts the card can just go on and do whatever. Maybe that's like the final step in the flow. So if I run this now, we should see it show up in the chat, hopefully. Looks like it's still running. Things seem to be a little slow today right now, so. It shows it. Oh, it did post. Okay. Just everything seems very slow. Then if people go ahead and fill in for it, it seems like things are running especially slow today, so we'll see how long it takes, I guess, for responses to come in. But I'll go ahead and fill one in myself. Yeah, so you could see a couple responses come in. Here we go. We got more. Someone, Satya Nadella, coming into this. I like it. And basically how it works is, yeah, so this card response ID is like what I said for mapping. And then you need to put the adaptive card in this one too, so that it knows the schema for if you want to be able to use the output for, like in this case, posting a message to it. But what I was originally going to do, which I maybe would need to do that ahead of time, because I think I can't do it fast enough to actually be able to create the demo live for it, is like you can create a planner task every time someone responds to like a card or something. I have one that I was working on for like a mini project for the team, that every day someone would send out a card asking if you're in the office today, and then if you are, I added people to a tag. You might have seen like some new tag actions have been added to Power Automate connector, and basically you can keep track of who's in the office that way. So you send like one adaptive card to the team every morning, click here if you're in the office, and if you are, it'll add them to the tag. And then there's some other actions, like other stuff you can do with the tags as well for monitoring them. And what's really cool with this feature too, with the card type ID, is this is like a many-to-many relationship. So you can have multiple cards that all have the same card type ID. And if they have the same one, they'll still be mapped to the same trigger. So like I could post the same card in multiple chats or channels. And for everyone, if it's the same ID, it'll all trigger the same, or all trigger, excuse me, the same flow for it. And on the flip side, you could also have multiple triggers that all have the same card type ID. So you can have like when someone responds to a card, if you want, you can have multiple flows all run in parallel at the same time. That scenario is probably like a little less common for it. I don't really know if you need to have multiple flows running at the same time, but being able to post multiple cards with the same ID and having just one flow handle all the responses helps simplify things a lot. But yeah, that's the basic demo for it.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Josh, for showing us that. We can finish with the rest of the content and then quickly jump into a Q&A. I know we have people eager to learn more about the feature here. And this is information that you spoke about with your demo. The card type IDs match exactly. They take the same inputs that are specified with the adaptive card JSON schema. And really the valuable use case for this feature, as Josh mentioned, is being able to take multiple responses from multiple users There's a ton of use cases for a feature like this. It is currently in preview, but hopefully we'll see it on the live environment soon. Moving on to Build 2022. Build is Microsoft's yearly conference where we showcase the latest innovations in code and application development. We have a ton of featured speakers representing your favorite technology at Microsoft, and it'll be going on from May 24th to May 26th. It's completely free to attend. It's hosted online, and you can register now at aka.ms/build. We will have content related to adaptive cards, so I recommend you attend and tune in. One last thing, we have this survey. It'll help a ton. It's a super quick 2-question survey. You can find it at aka.ms/acfeedback. This will help us gauge the interest for the community call, as well as get your feedback on which type of content you'd be looking forward to at the call. If there was any calls in the past that particularly stood out, if you'd like to see any of the previous guests come back to the call and share some more content, just any information that you're able to provide in terms of feedback, it'll help us a ton and will make this experience a better experience for the users that come in every month. So if you could please take 3 minutes and fill out those 2 questions that are found at aka.ms/acfeedback, it would be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, we can hop into the Q&A section. Now, I am unable to see the chat, so I won't be able to catch any questions that are being typed out. But Tomasz, do you want to go ahead and take the floor with the first question?
Right. So the first question I have is about that feature that you just showcased, Josh. And what I'm missing and what I would really like to see is the ability to refresh the card. So once the message is sent from one card and the other cloud flow is triggered, then to have any kind of possibility that this other flow is able to update the card, replace it with a new one. So like to close it whenever I feel that the number of responses is reached that I was expected to have. So is there anything like that on the roadmap?
Yes, there is actually. I have completed the work for that. I thought I had done it last week, but then there's a check I was doing to make sure that you can only update a card that you've sent originally. You can't update a Flowbot card sent by someone else. And my check for that didn't work originally. So I made a fix for that, and that's going to start going out this Friday, actually. And that was why, yeah. So starting Friday in like the dev environment, so it should take, I think it'll take like up to like maybe like 2 weeks to reach all the environments, depending on like what stage you are and region and everything. And that's why we also haven't like done a blog post for this or anything yet, because we wanted to wait, because yeah, this feature isn't fully complete without having that update, like you said. So you can like post the card, add like a delay of like a few days or however long you want to handle for responses, and then like you said, you can update the card and be like, no more responses, like thank you, something like that, so you can stop receiving them.
So do you think that it will be available in the preview environments earlier than in the regular ones, or?
Yeah, if you're in preview, like I said, it should be going to there sometime next week. I also have something else that probably would say for another community call, because it's not quite there yet, but I guess if you just talk about it briefly for adaptive cards, which is, if you've seen for message action, message extension, when you launch those, like a card will show up in a task module. And I have another action that I've completed the work for, and that'll be going out soon, not as soon, so that you can respond and then update that card and refresh it, instead of like sharing it later. I don't know if that completely makes sense. Do I have an example of it I could show real quick? I'll see if I have one set up for it, but otherwise, yeah, if there's other questions.
Yeah, it seems, Craig, you have your hand up.
Yep, thanks. I didn't spot any, but I might have missed it though, Josh, in your presentation. Was there anything in there that was premium?
No, nothing premium with this.
Okay, just always have to ask, because
yeah.
I like solutions, but for those of us that we can't use premium, it's always good to ask.
Yeah, right now Teams doesn't have anything premium. We did hit an issue was it last week, because we used for the keyword trigger, it uses a Graph subscription that Graph is planning on monetizing in the future. So they haven't really figured out what they're going to do with that in Power Automate. It's kind of above me for deciding that, but yeah, currently nothing premium.
Yeah,
One
yeah,
more.
I know. Yep. So I just know Automate has some premium stuff, so that's why I just was making sure.
One
Thanks,
more
Josh.
thing, Josh, that is coming to my mind. Does this trigger that is used to catch the responses from the adaptive cards, does it only work when used in a Cloudflow in the default environment? Because I tried to use it in the other environment, but it was never triggered by responses from from adaptive cards coming from Teams, for example.
Yeah, that is one thing I should call out, or should have called out, yeah, and make sure I put in like the limitations issues. Similar to like, yeah, the message action, like the for selected message and from the compose box, it does have to be your default environment for this. Yeah.
Can you unveil how this new action that will be used to close an adaptive card is going to be called?
Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else, I guess I see something from Richard in here. And then, yeah, if we have time, I'm happy to share that one as well. That one will be like a little further out, I guess, like hopefully sometime later this month. But let me see his question.
We
Yeah,
also have
so
some people asking in the chat about the recording for this call. So this call is getting recorded right now, and usually within the next 2 days, it'll get uploaded to YouTube on our M365 developer channels as well. You can find all the other community calls as well as on our website. So I'll make sure to update the website with the blog post for this community call, and the recording will be available on YouTube for you to rewatch on your own time.
So looking at the chat, I saw Richard was asking about there's like some example cards like connecting with different connectors and stuff. And I saw, I think Gareth was asking something about templates in Teams, and we actually have that right already. I think it's rolled out everywhere, I believe. I could share my screen again just to show where that is. It might look a little different because I'm in like a lower ring for it, but there should be something. It might be called like store here instead of apps, I think. It was recently renamed to, but if you go here, there'd be like the app section, and then underneath is workflows. And then me and some people on my team and stuff have created a bunch of templates for different scenarios for it. And you can see like this one, yeah, creates a planner task when to do is mentioned in a particular channel or channels for it. And so that like connects with that one. Not all of them use like adaptive cards, I guess, for it, but a lot of them do. The one I was originally going to do, like that message action one, yeah, like this uses like a card and like connects with Planner for it. So you can like, you basically click on the template, it'll have you like sign into your connections. For some of them, like this one, I think it also will have you specify, like some of them have parameters you need to specify. Most of them do, like you'll have to specify what planner you want to create the task in, stuff like that for it. So I guess I could just like walk through the creation process for it real quick. So yeah, just signing into my connections right now. And then on this page, yeah, you just select like the team and planner for it based on that for it. And then you just click add workflow and it would be created for you. So yeah, we have a bunch of templates in the store. It's definitely the most user-friendly way. I'd recommend like for a lot of them seeing if you already have something similar in here, and then you can go ahead and create it and then edit it to be like more customizable, like more customized if what we have for the template doesn't exactly fit your needs. But I think starting with a template is usually a little easier than just building it from scratch for most people who don't deal with this as much as I do. So yeah, let's see what were the other questions. I'm not sure what you mean by how about bots. You mean PVA bots? They don't currently support this. It's just the Power Automate bot. But I want to get in touch with some devs on their team because I think it'd be good to have them support this as well, if that's what that's referring to. You can only do this as a bot. You won't be able to do this as like user via graph or anything because we need to be able to listen for it, and like graph doesn't have those kind of features.
So it looks like we're getting some questions related to templating. There's a question says, is there a plan to make templating available in Power Automate /Teams? I did invite Harish, who is the PM working on Power Automate, to this call. He did mention he had a conflict, so I'm not sure he's able to join to this one specifically. But Josh, do you maybe have some more information on the Power Automate side for if templating and adaptive cards would be made available?
Yes, we have templating for adaptive cards. Maybe what they mean is for this feature. So we don't have support yet for templates. So because this involves, right, like two flows, it involves like the response handler flow and a flow that will post the card. We don't have solution templates, like solutions with kind of refer to with like you bundle multiple flows together. I've been asking for them to work on supporting that for us, but there's some other stuff that's been higher priority. So I'm hoping that that will be picked up sooner than later, because I think for most people, yeah, this is a little more complicated, even from flows, people that are familiar with flow for creating this. So I guess it's TBD for that, but we will eventually be adding templates that you can use for multiple responses that bundle multiple flows together.
And to clarify on that one, Josh, that would be using the templating property that adaptive cards has, right? Like, for example, $data or $email to get those values.
So template refers to kind of what I was showing in the store. So template is like a skeleton for a flow where you have most of it already configured, and then they just sign in with their connections. And maybe there's a few variable like input parameters for the flow that need to be configured in order to be set up and run for it. I think if you're talking about the dollar stuff, you're talking about like the dynamic content. That's like
yes,
separate
like
from
the data binding. It's I think we have separate definitions for templating. There's probably one for Power Automate, and then there's also one that's specific to adaptive cards, where users can sort of like data bind with properties inside their adaptive card JSON.
Oh, you're talking about
like the right side of the designer.
The sample. I gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't currently support that with Power Automate. That's not owned by my team, but I do know the team that does own that. Yeah, that is Harish's team, their PM. So I can follow up with them to see if they have plans or like if it'd be feasible from their designer perspective to support this. But yeah, currently that's not there, but I know, yeah, adaptive card has moved to that. So hopefully they'll be able to add like the data binding with it.
Awesome. That's great. We have some more questions. Benjamin is asking, what about Azure Bot Framework? Benjamin, could you maybe specify a little more on that question?
The feature you're speaking to on the trigger mechanism, is that only for Power Automate, or is it for the bot framework as well?
It is only for Power Automate. Like I was saying, we want to be able to support that for Power Virtual Agent bots as well in the future. But I think for bot framework, you can already like do something like basically every time someone responds, and there's like an invoke to the bot, right? Like a submit action for it. So you can already do something like this with bot framework today.
Thank you.
It just, yeah. Power Automate just kind of makes things a little more like user friendly. It's like no code to less code compared to using like bot framework to do something like this.
Oh, we have a question from Ryan saying, a follow-up from last month's call. Do you have any more information about a low-code way to respond to universal actions? We use a lot of Outlook adaptive cards, and I want to upgrade to universal action, but need a low-code way to handle the response. I want a way to handle the response with Power Virtual Agent or Power Automate rather than coding about any update or options. Josh, are you aware of any connectors that might be coming soon for Outlook support?
No, I'm only familiar with the Teams connector, unfortunately, so can't comment on that.
Oh, and I'm finally seeing the responses from the adaptive card that was sent out. I actually cannot see the adaptive card on my side, and I couldn't see the responses that were coming in, but it seems that some are coming in now. Yeah,
there were a bunch before. Hopefully all of them came in and none of them got like dropped or anything, but yeah, some people pretty creative with some of them. I was not.
And it looks like we do have an answer for Ryan's question that Tomasz posted in the chat for the people that are catching up on the recording. There isn't a way right now for a low-code way of responding using universal actions. So hopefully that's something that the Outlook team, I can reach out to Karan as well, who was in last month's community call and try to get an update on that from his side. Jim is asking, the card posted above continues to display as a form, allowing responding again. Could the card change itself after submission so as to only allow one response per user?
So we don't support role-based views for our cards, and we looked into that, but the current architecture for it isn't ideal and wouldn't really work for Power Automate. So we don't have a way, like we don't do any sort of enforcement for like one response per user. If you, depending on like what you're doing with this, if you're like putting this in like a spreadsheet or something like that, you could use a spreadsheet and like keep track of like users who've responded and then only add the response if it's like a new user or something, or update the response if like an existing entry already exists for them. But we don't do any sort of enforcement on our side to keep track of if someone's already responded. And Power Automate doesn't really deal with data storage for the most part. I can try and do that other demo real quick. It is, and I think it's in some ways kind of cooler than the multiple response one even. So if we want, I can try and do that.
Yeah, we have some spare time. I think it would be great to see a different use case as well. And to clarify on the question that Jim asked, there isn't even a workaround way that you're aware of, Josh, like maybe using other flows or other connectors to be able to achieve something like that, maybe deleting a message or some sort?
So like I said, we have planned support for being able to update the card. That'll be going out this Friday. So you can update the card, but the card will be updated for everyone. If you want to have only a single user respond, we already have the existing like post card and wait for response action, which just takes like a single user and then updates the card for that. So you can either like send it in a chat or channel, but currently like once one person responds, it updates for everyone. So you can only get a single response, which is why we added this other support. Or else what you can do is you can use that postcard and wait for response. And instead of sharing it in a chat or channel or a group chat or channel, you can just send it to individual users. And then that'll ensure that like only a single person responds. But otherwise, yeah, you'd have to like maintain a list of who's responded somewhere for it and keep track that way.
Thank you. And for people that missed it in the presentation, I'm about to send the link again in the chat for the short 2-question survey. The feedback would be greatly appreciated. It'll help a ton for us to provide the best content and gauge the interest of the community for future community calls.
Cool. Yeah, if there's no other questions, I'm going to do the other demo that I think this one unlocks a lot of potential too. Is really cool. This one, yeah, like I said, it's I'm in like our test environment right now, so it'll be probably a few more weeks or something like that till this one goes out. Maybe there's some issue with my machine for it, but basically we're going to be deprecating these 2 triggers. Actually, I think this one might already be out at this point, but the action for it isn't. So if I use this from the Compose Box V2, which is a message extension trigger that you use like in like Compose Box in Teams, and then hopefully it'll be a little faster this time than last time, but it is a test environment, which is always usually slower than production. All right, here we go. And we're just gonna do it with a card. So we're gonna save this card. And then there's this new action that isn't in preview yet called respond in task module. So task module refers to that box you'll see on the screen when you launch one of this trigger or a message action trigger. If you've used those triggers before, you're familiar with this already, but I'll show it in a second so you can see what it looks like. And then if I just put a different card, and maybe I want to add some dynamic values from the response itself from it, we'll just do like, put my name there, and then we'll put the name for this thing for it, like this dynamic input for it. And then you could obviously do other things more complicated for it, like maybe you create like a Azure DevOps work item or like a planner task, and you can put those as links in here instead. But we'll just call this task. So what this will do is it'll make this flow synchronous, and it will cause the full flow to run, and then you can see immediately in the same spot where you triggered the flow whether or not it worked for it, and any relevant information. So if I go here in our meeting and just do that. And then click on workflows. Task module demo. Yeah, it's not available yet, so this is kind of a sneak peek preview of something very exciting coming.
We're even getting some bonus sneak peek demos. Thank you so much, Josh, for this. This is great.
Yeah, no problem. So if I just, we're not even using the email and phone number. So you can see like it launches the card in this task module, right? This is the message extension. The trigger is already like there today. And then you hit submit. Basically, it'll run the flow synchronously and do everything with the flow and then update right here in this same window, the same task module. So you could see it's like the responding. If you go back to like what I was showing for it, I have like this dynamic values for it, like this. And this is my name is like what I put for the response name, which is this right here. So what you could do is you could do this. This is like a very basic version of this, but you could see like running your flow and maybe you're creating a work item, sending an email, whatever you're doing, and you just get the instant feedback right here that it completed, and you could put like a link to that work item, send a message, whatever you're doing, all right here for it, instead of like having flow send a message to you later or a notification, feed notification, stuff like that. So that's the very basic version of that demo, but it's like super powerful and stuff. So
we have some follow-up questions here from Tomasz. Will it be able to update a card inside a conversation? And that's in reference, I think, to the latest demo that you shared.
Yeah, just like the other one, I might have it in here just so you can see what it looks like, I guess. I mean, I guess I could have like even demo that for this call as well because it's in this test environment. But yeah, there is like a update card action right here that will be coming out. Like I said, it'll be rolling out this Friday. So it's only available for Flowbot right now because Graph doesn't support updating cards yet. They're working on adding that feature, but you'll just choose like the chat or channel where it is. Say group chat, you'll include like the conversation ID and then the message ID for it, and then the new adaptive card that you want to update with it. And we don't use the designer for this because the designer doesn't support these dynamic tokens, and obviously like something like this, you want to be able to use this dynamic content in your card for it. But that is the update card action that will be going out, and so you could do that as part of this or the multiple response thing and be able to update a card that way.
Awesome. We have a question from Jim asking, does the task module support select drop-down controls in cards?
Yeah, you mean like input choice set kind of thing is like a drop-down?
Yes, input choice set.
Yeah, so it supports that. Everything you see here, it should support. If for some reason this doesn't work, let us know, file a bug or something. But yeah, that should work.
Awesome. We'll do a final call for questions here. Again, thanks so much, Josh, for taking time out of your day and working on this demo for the community. Everyone's been really appreciative. It's been a great demo. Thank you again for the sneak peek that you shared with us. That's great. And just to be clear, you said this is coming Friday, so tomorrow, or is that next Friday?
The update adaptive card action should be going out. I guess it is already Thursday. Yeah, should be starting rolling out tomorrow. It'll take like a couple weeks or so to reach everywhere, assuming we don't have any issues. And the multiple response part of the demo is there today. And so you can use that one already without the update thing. And then this latest demo I haven't done a rollout for yet. I need to make a change for the message action, the for select a message trigger. But my dev box had some issues basically because they moved offices. So that one, I can't give like a firm date on yet, but hopefully in the next few weeks that'll be rolling out. There's 3 different things. One's already out, one's rolling out tomorrow, and the other one soon.
Awesome. And we have Jim. He's mentioning a scenario. So a user records a meeting that should have been a channel meeting. When the recording hits their OneDrive, we want to ask them if the recording should be moved to a channel folder, and if so, allow them to choose which one. Can we use management controls from the Graph Toolkit, example, Teams Channel Picker?
So he's saying a meeting was recorded in the wrong channel, and he wants to move a meeting recording basically with OneDrive, is what it sounds like.
I think they're using the Graph Toolkit in order to achieve that.
'Cause I'm not familiar with. I actually never used this Graph Toolkit, so I'm not familiar with this. I don't know if I could answer this.
I've seen
the
a
fly.
Can you hear me? I've seen examples of using it in an ACE in Viva Connections, which is somewhat related to, well, it's an adaptive card. So I'm wondering if those would work for these kinds that we can post to Teams.
Yeah, I guess I'm still a little unsure. Maybe like some sort of like example or like demo walkthrough of this might make it a little more clear for me.
Yeah, I think Tomasz sent one in the chat here for a people picker example. So something like that might work. I also do not have too much experience using the Graph Toolkit as well, so apologize that I can't provide an answer to that one. Jim.
Oh yeah, People Picker does work in our adaptive cards. We have some templates that use the People Picker. So if you mean like, if you have something similar and you want to do it with like channels, that should work for the cards using Power Automate as well, if that's what the question was. Like you want to have it in the card and be able to like list out the channels and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we support up to version 1.5, I want to say, of cards. I have to double check that, but I think it's 1.5. And we support like People Picker. Yeah, if there's like a channel picker that's part of this too, it should be supported as well.
Thanks.
Awesome. Are there any more questions? Please feel free to either unmute or write them out in the chat. We're almost at time here. We got about 5 minutes left.
If anyone has any later, I'll try and check the chat every now and then and respond back there.
Cool. And as always, here are our resources slide where you can learn more about adaptive cards. We have our roadmap in the aka.ms/AC roadmap. Learn more about templating, which we also discussed briefly in this community call, as well as our source code for adaptive cards, and more examples and tools for creating adaptive cards can be found in madewithcards.io as well. Here are a list of our other Microsoft 365 developer community calls, as well as their cadence. They're all great sources for learning the technology and interacting, getting to ask questions directly with the people that make the technology, like the one we have today. So I really recommend, if you're interested in learning more about these products, attend the community calls and ask your questions there. Final callouts as well. Remember, we have Microsoft Build coming up May 24th to May 26th. There will be some information about adaptive cards, so stay tuned for that one during Build. And then if you could please take 3 minutes and share your feedback in ak.ms/AC feedback, will help us a ton and would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and I guess one more plug for my stuff is if you have any sort of like triggers, actions, other stuff, entry points, anything related to Power Automate and Teams, please send them my way. And if you have any good use cases like Jim was talking about for like template ideas or anything, please share those as well and see about getting those added.
And Josh, what would be the best way for them to contact you? Is there a feedback forum or something where they can send these suggestions in?
That's a good question. I don't have like a link to anything right now, so I don't know if they can message.
We can do this. So
directly.
the form that I sent out has a like free long response answer. If you want to just put in suggestions for connectors or any sort of flows that you're looking for, you can also type in there. They're not, I believe the form shouldn't be single response. So if you already submitted one and now want to submit some more feedback again related to the connectors or the flows, you can go ahead and submit another response and I can forward those to Josh.
Cool. Yeah, that would work great for me. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.